Hi, my name is Axel Oskens.
And my name is Valentin Deneve.
Today we are going to speak about Frans Johansson's book, The Click Moment. The book is about two very simple ideas. Success is totally random, but you can take action to capture this randomness and focus it to your advantage. People tend to think that success is a matter of strategy, which means planning, analysis, etc. This is true, but only in the fields that Frans Johansson calls static fields. Those fields don't change frequently. The rules are well anchored, well established, and when they change slowly. Those fields don't let people express their creativity because there's only a certain number of possibilities. The number of combinations is limited. In those fields, success is achieved by mastering all the combinations and using them to your advantage. In these static fields we find, for example, chess, tennis or boxing. What Johansson says can be linked with the theory of Malcolm Gladwell about expertise, also called the 10,000 hours theory. Gladwell is a Canadian psychology geek who thinks that success is the result of practicing for a huge amount of time. He says that success is something you cultivate through hard work and focus. That's right, 10,000 hours of practice and you will succeed. Let's take an example, Serena Williams. Her dad put her to training from her childhood. She made huge sacrifices to train even harder, and today she is one of the most talented tenniswomen on earth. There is no place for randomness here, only hard work and hours of practice to master the tennis rules and combinations.
Sounds like a recipe for success, but unfortunately, it only applies in static fields. And the problem is that the world in which we live is not static. Changes are constant, we have to adapt ourselves. The level of unpredictability increases with looser social norms around a specific field. The author links the concept of unpredictability with three words. Randomness, which is a notion with mathematical connotations. Serendipity, which is randomness with a positive outcome. And luck, basically randomness with positive outcome but with less control than serendipity. Humans are not wired to handle the idea that the world is random, despite the fact that it is. When something happens, even in a random way, our brain will make us believe that it happened for a reason. We will always try to perceive a scheme, a strategy, something that was planned. This fact is easily recognizable in a human phenomenon called post hoc rationalization. The idea is that we will try to explain any observation or outcome by fitting our conclusion to the data and not the opposite. Ironically, there will be no randomness because we knew what would happen all along. After it has happened, of course. Another example of humans not being comfortable with randomness is what Johansson calls the RPS paradox. Everyone knows that antique game, rock, paper, scissors. Everyone can play it, and it has been proven that the best winning strategy is to play randomly. But there's a whole world RPS society that thinks otherwise. Somewhere in the world, someone is reading their official RPS strategy guide. The paradox lies here. Even if we know serendipity matters, we still need a plan, a strategy to act. Should you play the avalanche strategy, 3 rocks in a row? Or maybe crescendo, paper, scissors, rock? Or the famous old-time gambit, paper dolls, paper followed by 2 scissors?
Speaking of randomness, what can we do to capture and focus it? Johansson suggests what looks like a 3-part plan. It goes about click moments, purposeful bets and complex forces. What Johansson calls click moments occur when separate concepts, ideas or people meet and it just goes click, the idea. They often create an emotional response, happiness or excitement for example. What is tricky is that those click moments are impossible to predict. They are completely random, but there are some things that can help us higher the rate of click moments. For example, there is a higher chance of creating a click moment if the concepts, ideas or persons are very different from each other. Here are some of Johansson's advices. First of all, take time to explore things that are not directly related to your immediate goal. For example, try searching for inspiration in fields, industries, and cultures that are different from your own. Diversity is the key to unleash surprising and game-changing insights. It holds true with people. Being surrounded by a diverse mix of people having different perspectives and goals can bring click moment more easily. If it's impossible for you to form a diverse team, try at least to create an environment where people can randomly meet and collaborate. Finally, reject all predictable paths. As we said earlier, going against actions that can be predicted is really hard for us, but click moments happen more frequently when we act randomly. Click moments are just the first part. After that, we have to manage things to make success happen. Johansson calls those things purposeful bets. In order to succeed, we have to place many bets. The more bets we place, the greater the chance. It involves, of course, to minimize the size of the bets. If we place too big bets, the risk is that we won't have enough money to place other bets. So, in other words, try many things, invest in different interests and fields, but always on a small scale. Control and feedback are really important, so take the smallest executable step. Make little experiments to define what works and what doesn't in the project. If we can smell failure early enough, we will still have enough money and time to adapt, correct, and develop a better version of the project. This is why we have to be passionate about our bets, because a lot of unsuccessful bets can be really demotivating. Passion is fuel, says Johansson. Another very important notion here is the concept of affordable loss. Can we make this bet, fail so lose money, and still continue to make other bets? This is not really common, because to define on which bet people should focus, they tend to use a logical approach. Why? Because they want to be able to calculate their return on investment. We are not saying this is a bad strategy, at all. We are saying that if we want to follow a random path, we will encounter problems with our ROI-based strategy. First, it's not really interesting to place small bets because the return is rarely high enough. The small bets are here to broaden our horizons of possibilities, not to fructify and make money. Then, if everyone was able to logically calculate and have a decent ROI, everyone will be using that technique and nobody would stand out. When everyone is super, no one is.
Okay, now the third part. We've met a lot of very different people, had one or two really good ideas and invested a lot of time and money in many small projects. What now? Now we wait for something to happen. We wait for what Johansson calls the complex forces to influence our bets. Those forces are, for example, the social context, the economical situation, the political environment, etc. So they are extremely broad and different, but they have one thing in common. There is almost nothing that can help us control them. Johansson divides them into three categories. The first one is about forces involving unintended consequences. Imagine taking action expecting some kind of result, but the actual result is completely different from what we expected. For example, in the movie Jaws, the fact that we don't really see the shark accounts for a good deal of what makes the movie so scary, suspenseful and successful. But it was not the intention. Spielberg wanted to see the whole shark, but the special effects team just couldn't bring the shark to full operation. So thanks to mechanical incapacity, Jaws became one of the first blockbusters, but definitely not for the reasons it was planned for. A second category is formed by actions that have consequences spreading far beyond anything predicted. The perfect example here is what we can observe on social media nowadays. Sometimes a simple picture can have a huge impact thanks to word of mouth and hyperconnectivity. People are connected from every corner of the globe, and it makes success even more unpredictable. Last but not least, we have the self-reinforcing loops. They happen when something we did successfully in the past makes our present and future actions successful, or at least gives them more chance to succeed. A good example is the case of Stephen King. Every book he writes becomes a bestseller, and everything comes from his name. He tried once to write under another name, but the sales were really low and the critics sometimes mean. After he decided to publish it under his real name, it was a hit. Again. This kind of snowballing is perfectly achieved by Apple. Their name ensures results and success. If something good happens, if the complex forces are in our favor, we have to take quick actions. One of the advices given by the author is the double down. The idea is to invest time, money, reputation and other resources into the project that looks good, with the expectation that it will not only continue to be successful, but in fact go big. Double down works best when we stop involvement on other projects and focus on the project we want to be big. The book gives us some advices in order to reach success by using randomness in our advantage. Considering the world is mostly random, we have to enhance the click possibilities using diversity and fresh thinking. Then we have to try things, place as many small bets as possible, and wait for complex forces we don't control to make something happen. If it fails, keep trying. If it works, try everything possible to make it big or bigger.
Thank you for watching our video and good luck!